So I was having a conversation the other day with one of our co-founders, and we were talking about all of what they defined as challenges that transpired over the past year or so for them. And some of their challenges significant. I mean, personal challenges that required an enormous amount of thought and energy and resources and emotion to try to just like figure out. There are business challenges that felt almost like a game. Like, okay, what's my next move? What's that next move that's going to get me further along? And oh, damn, that was a step that actually took me back a few. And we were talking about what they defined as a challenge, that what they attached a word to, which was called a challenge. And I'm like, you know what's so interesting is I just, for whatever reason, when you're telling me all of these things that you've experienced, all they are is things. They're life events. You're just attaching a word challenge to it. And if you were to define challenge, it's kind of overwhelming. Like, who wants to have a challenge? Like, who wants to feel like they have to overcome something? I mean, you know what each of those things are to me? Like, as you're speaking, like you're spewing out all the things that transpired. There's like a bullet list of all these things. They are learnings. They're like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, those are just learnings. Like, in life, you will either win or you're going to learn. Those are the only two things that exist. So it's just a learning. So you've learned something as a result of that event, personally or professionally. And whenever you learn something, like if you read a book and you learn something, well, the only way that you can turn something that you've learned into something that you can earn from is through execution. So like if you were to read a book and you were to learn a lot of things, you wrote down all these notes in that book, do you realize that that book has a zero return on your time or money? A zero, like a zero, nilch, nada. Like a lot of people talk about reading a book every single week. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do, as long as you earn from what you've learned. What's the point of reading the book otherwise? You're going to read the book, you're taking notes, you're going to do all your highlights, you're going to take those little sticky things and put them in the book. You're going to be like, oh my God, I read another book. Wonderful. How are you going to earn from what you've learned? No different than the life experiences that you've had over the past 1 year, 2 year, 1 week, 1 month. How are you going to earn from what you've learned? And we started really digging into this, the co-founder and I, because some of their learnings, no longer challenges, had to do with personal decisions, inviting people into their personal life that ended up distracting them or derailing them or stressing them out. And we started talking about, okay, that's not a challenge, it's a learning. How can you now earn going forward from that experience, which we're defining as a learning? So we started going through an exercise and they got significantly clearer on their non-negotiables. The non-negotiables, values and characteristics that must exist in any human being that enters their life. They also got really clear on what it means to do an audit and potentially remove people from their life. Not where they have to declare it and be like, hey, Bob, like you were once important to me, but now you're not anymore. Just natural evolution. Natural evolution, because Bob may have been the most wonderful friend when you were 16 years old, but now you're 36 and your aspirations and your goals and your desires are just so exponentially different. And if the only way that you can connect with Bob from when you were 16 is to talk about your past, how does that serve you in the present and the future? So Bob should just be audited out. Once again, don't declare it, just do it. So that was some of the personal things. And there was a lot of challenges that all of a sudden started getting redefined as learnings. And we took each of the learnings that we said, okay, how can we earn from them? But from a business perspective as well. This person had a lot of wins this year, but they also had a handful of things that they called challenges. They called them challenges, but they were really learnings they can now earn from. One of them had to do with fundraising. And they said there was such a challenging year for fundraising. I don't know how to overcome. But what'd you learn? What'd you learn in the fundraising process? Well, I learned that if I speak with somebody who already is suffering from what my solution can solve for, they're significantly more inclined to want to get involved. I'm like, so that's not a challenge. That's a learning that you can now earn from. What that actually means is that you should seek out people that already care about what you care about. Seek out people that already have a need for your solution. Seek out relevancy versus trying to prove that your thesis is true. The person who's relevant is going to know it's true. And now you can earn from that learning. This is a really important thing for you to start to recognize. The words that you attach to what is become decisive. So the life event is what it is. Whatever you attach to it will become decisive for you. So if you attach challenge, overwhelm, stress, well, guess what? That's what it will be. And that's all that you're going to know. But if you attach learning, and now I'm committed to earning from my learning, well, guess what? That seems pretty darn exciting, because we're all going to learn a ton. Over the course of a year, guaranteed, you will learn more than you win. Guaranteed. No one on planet Earth will ever win more than they learn. If they win more than they learn, they're not taking significant enough action, they're playing it safe, they're really not building any progress whatsoever. So you're gonna learn more than you win if you're an ambitious change maker, and I know that you are. So if that's truly the case, why define something that has so much potential as a challenge? Why call it a stressor? Why call it a setback, when all that it is a learning that you can now earn from? And you might say, well, how do I even get there? Well, the first step is you stop calling it anything other than a learning. Your context is freaking decisive. Pick the right term. Pick the right label. That's the first step. The next step is you spend time on it. Now, you don't spend a year on it, but you spend time on it. You think through, if I knew what I know today, what would I have done differently? If I knew what I knew today, what would I have done differently? It's what I asked that person with regards to their personal learning. And they said, well, if I knew what I knew today, I would not have let that person into my life, because this were the characteristics that they represent that ended up leading to this becoming a challenge. No, a learning. They're course correcting. So if you knew what you knew today, what would you have done differently? And answer the question. Don't belabor it. Don't romanticize over it. Don't put it into ChatGPT. Don't try to make it grammatically correct. If you knew what you knew today, what would you have done differently? And the third step is just do it differently. Just do it differently. Take a different action. Have a different standard. Have an extra boundary. And guess what? If you don't win with what you have done differently, all that you did was learn. You got more data. And then you use the data, you apply it, and you go through the process again. It's that simple. It's 3 freaking steps. The first step is have a different word that you attach to the event. It's not a challenge, it's not a setback, it's not a stressor, it's a learning. From there, answer the question. If I knew what I knew today, what would I have done differently? And the third thing is just do it differently and assess it. Life is a game of collecting data. Business is a game of collecting data. Data is valuable. The most successful companies in history are companies that collect data. Your life is no different. Collect data, use the data, and then grow as a result of it. So that's my exercise for you, my challenge for you. I think it'll change your life. I know our co-founders lit up now, because all of a sudden, all the things that they said were challenges are learnings. And they're ready to earn from their learnings personally and professionally. And I can guarantee, if this becomes your new standard, your new norm, your new default, you will as well. You win or you learn, and there's nothing else. All right, go out there and get it. Peace out.